The old human warship drifted silently in the void, its dark hull barely visible against the backdrop of distant stars. Paint had long since peeled off its surfaces, revealing patches of bare metal underneath. To anyone passing by, it looked like nothing more than space debris, another forgotten relic of humanity's early ventures into the cosmos. Captain Reed stood at the command deck of his salvage ship, the Lucky Find, stroking his scaled chin as he studied the ancient vessel through the main viewport. His amber eyes reflected the soft glow of the scanning displays, showing a three-dimensional image of their discovery. "What do you make of it, Morgan?" he asked his first officer, who was busy analyzing the preliminary scans. Morgan's antennae twitched in amusement as she looked up from her console. "It's definitely human-made, Captain. Early space age by the looks of it. Probably one of their first attempts at building proper warships." She let out a chittering laugh. "Look at those crude weapon mounts. They actually used chemical propellants for their guns." Reed walked closer to the holographic display, his clawed feet clicking against the metal deck. The scan showed a ship roughly 300 meters in length, its hull bearing the faded markings HMS Thunder. The design was brutally simple compared to modern vessels, all straight lines and sharp angles, with what appeared to be primitive railgun turrets mounted along its flanks. "Any life signs?" Reed asked, though he already knew the answer. Nothing could survive this long in a derelict vessel. "None, Captain. Power readings are minimal, just the basic emergency systems keeping the hull from falling apart. Amazing they even managed that." Morgan pulled up more detailed scans. "Though I have to admit, they built it tough. The hull plating is surprisingly thick." The salvage crew gathered around the viewing windows, pointing and laughing at various features of the ancient ship. Many had never seen such an outdated vessel before. "Those humans," chuckled the ship's engineer, Baker, his 4 eyes crinkling with mirth. "They really thought they could conquer space with such primitive technology. Look at those thrusters. They're practically rocket engines." Reed nodded in agreement, but something about the old warship made him pause. The humans had been a dominant force in the galaxy for centuries, despite their relatively recent arrival on the interstellar stage. How had they managed that with technology like this? "Well," he announced, pushing aside his thoughts, "let's get to work. Baker, prepare the salvage drones. Morgan, start mapping out cutting points. That hull material might be primitive, but it's still valuable. The scrapyards will pay well for it." As the crew began their preparations, Reed noticed something odd about the scan data. The ship's mass readings didn't quite match what they should expect from a vessel this size. Before he could investigate further, Morgan interrupted his thoughts. "Captain, you might want to see this," she called out. "We found some marking on the hull. It's strange." Reed moved to her station, looking at the enhanced image she had captured. There, barely visible under years of space dust, was an engraving in human script. The universal translator took a moment before converting it. "Here stands the Thunder, guardian of the void, a gift to those in need, a warning to those who threaten peace. Humans and their dramatic messages," Baker said with a snort. "They always did love their ceremonies and symbolism." Reed felt an unexpected chill run down his spine. Something about the message seemed less like ceremony and more like a promise, or perhaps a warning. But that was ridiculous. This was just an obsolete warship, a relic of a bygone era. "Begin salvage operations," he ordered, pushing away his unease. "Let's strip this ancient piece of history and be on our way. The sooner we finish, the sooner we get paid." As the salvage drones detached from the Lucky Find and approached the Thunder, none of the alien crew noticed the faint power spike deep within the old warship's systems. In a processing core that had waited patiently for decades, an artificial intelligence stirred, running the first lines of its activation protocols. The HMS Thunder had been waiting for a very long time. And now, at last, it had company. The salvage drones had just made their first contact with the Thunder's hull when all communication screens on the Lucky Find lit up at once. The emergency broadcast signal cut through every channel, its urgent tone making Morgan's antennae flatten against her head. "Captain," she called out, her fingers flying over the controls. "Priority 1 transmission from Fleet Command." Reed straightened his spine, immediately alert. Priority 1 meant serious trouble. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, showing the grim face of Fleet Admiral West. Even through the transmission, they could see the stress lines marking his scaled face. "To all ships in Sector 7, he began, his voice tight with urgency. "The swarm has broken through our outer defense line. I repeat, the swarm has breached containment." The salvage crew froze. Everyone knew about the swarm, a hostile species that moved through space like locusts, destroying everything in their path. But they weren't supposed to be anywhere near this sector. "Multiple swarm vessels have been detected moving towards the trading routes," the Admiral continued. "All civilian ships are ordered to evacuate immediately to the nearest defensive fleet position." Baker's 4 eyes widened in fear. "Captain, the nearest defensive fleet is 3 days away at our best speed." Reed quickly pulled up a navigation chart. The engineer was right. They were deep in unclaimed space, far from any help. His claws clicked nervously against the command console as he calculated their options. "The swarm's main force will reach your sector in approximately 6 hours," Admiral West's message continued. "May the stars guide you to safety. Fleet Command out." The bridge fell silent. 6 hours. They needed 3 days to reach safety. "Morgan, get me the latest sensor data," Reed ordered, fighting to keep his voice steady. "Baker, what's our ship's combat capability?" Morgan's response came first, and it wasn't good. "Long-range sensors are picking up multiple heat signatures. They're moving fast, much faster than the Admiral's estimate. I'd say we have 4 hours, maybe less." Baker shook his head at the combat inquiry. "We're a salvage vessel, Captain. We have basic shields for debris protection and a few point defense lasers for breaking apart larger chunks of space junk. Against the swarm." He left the sentence unfinished. They all knew what that meant. "What about the Thunder?" someone suggested. "Could we use it for cover?" Reed turned to look at the ancient human warship still looming outside their viewport. It was massive compared to their salvage vessel, but it was also dead in space. Or was it? "Baker," Reed said slowly, an idea forming. "You said there were still emergency systems running on that ship. How much of it could we power up?" The engineer's antennae twitched thoughtfully. "Maybe some basic systems. Life support, artificial gravity. But Captain, you're not suggesting." 4 hours until the swarm arrives," Reed cut him off. "We can either drift out here in our thin-hulled salvage ship, or we can take our chances in a warship, even an ancient one." Morgan pulled up more detailed scans of the Thunder. "The hull is definitely stronger than ours. Those old human ships were built like fortresses. And look here," she pointed to an internal schematic. "There's a hangar bay big enough for the lucky find." Reed made his decision. "Prepare for emergency docking. Baker, get your best engineers ready. The moment we're inside, I want you trying to wake up every system you can find on that old ship." As the crew rushed to their stations, Reed stared at the Thunder. The human warning inscription they'd found earlier took on new meaning now. "A gift to those in need," it had said. "Well," he muttered to himself, "we're certainly in need now." The Lucky Find's engines flared to life, carefully maneuvering towards the Thunder's hangar bay. As they drew closer, Reed could have sworn he saw lights flickering deep within the ancient warship, like an old warrior opening its eyes after a long sleep. In the darkness of space, far behind them, the first swarm ships entered the sector, their biomechanical forms moving with terrible purpose towards their prey. The race against time had begun. The Lucky Find had barely settled in the Thunder's hangar bay when the first swarm attack hit. The blast caught them completely by surprise, rocking both ships violently. "Report," Reed shouted, picking himself up from the deck where the impact had thrown him. Morgan's voice crackled through his communicator. filled with static. "They're here early, Captain. 3 swarm ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They're right on top of us." Another blast rocked the ships. Through the hangar's force field, Reed watched in horror as pieces of the Lucky Find's hull, still extending past the Thunder's hangar bay, were torn away by the attack. Everyone inside the Thunder. "Now," Reed ordered through the ship-wide channel. "Abandon the Lucky Find. Move." The crew scrambled to obey, rushing through emergency airlocks and corridors. Baker and his engineering team were already deep inside the Thunder, trying to access its systems. "Captain," Baker's excited voice came through the communicator. "You need to see this. We found the bridge." Reed ran through the ancient corridors, following his crew's life signs on his portable scanner. He found them standing in a large, circular room. Despite the ship's age, the bridge looked surprisingly well preserved. Dead screens lined the walls, and at the center stood what could only be the captain's chair, surrounded by control stations. "Can you get any of it working?" Reed asked, just as another blast shook the ship. "That's the strange thing," Baker replied, his 4 eyes glowing with excitement as he worked on a panel. "The systems aren't dead. They're in some kind of sleep mode. It's like the ship was just waiting." A deep hum suddenly filled the bridge. One by one, screens began to flicker to life, casting a blue glow across the room. A soft voice spoke from hidden speakers, making everyone jump. "Multiple hostile contacts detected. Initiating defensive protocols. Please state command authorization." The aliens looked at each other in surprise. The ship's artificial intelligence was still functional. "How do we give authorization?" Morgan asked. "We're not human." Another hit from the swarm ships rattled the bridge. Through the view screens, they watched in horror as their salvage ship, the Lucky Find, broke apart completely. "Maybe," Baker said slowly, studying a flashing panel. "Look at this. The ship's AI keeps trying to scan for human DNA. But there's a backup protocol, something about allies in need." His fingers flew across the ancient controls. The warning inscription outside. It said, "A gift to those in need." Maybe that's not just poetry. Reed stepped forward towards what looked like the main command interface. "This is Captain Reed. We are allies in need, seeking refuge from a hostile force. We request defensive operations authorization." The bridge fell silent. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the AI's voice returned, stronger this time. "Emergency protocol accepted. Hostile force identified as Class 1 threat. Activating combat systems." The entire ship seemed to come alive around them. Lights blazed through every corridor. The hum of power grew louder as ancient systems roared back to life. "Amazing," Baker whispered, watching his engineering displays. "The power readings. Captain, this ship isn't primitive at all. These energy signatures, I've never seen anything like them." "Weapon systems online," the AI announced. "Shields charging. Warning, multiple hull breaches detected. Beginning emergency repairs." Through the view screens, they watched in awe as sections of the Thunder's hull began to shift and repair themselves. The dull, damaged exterior was transforming, revealing gleaming armor beneath decades of cosmic dust. "They disguised it," Morgan said in wonder. "The humans made it look old and broken on purpose." Another blast from the swarm ships hit them, but this time the Thunder barely shuddered. Reed felt a smile spread across his face as he watched the shield strength indicators climb higher and higher. "All critical systems online," the AI reported calmly, awaiting combat commands. Reed looked at his crew, seeing his own mix of fear and hope reflected in their faces. They were no longer salvage operators. They were about to fight for their lives in a human warship that was far more than it appeared to be. "Well then," Reed said, settling into the captain's chair, "let's show the swarm what this relic can do." The bridge of the HMS Thunder hummed with power as more systems came online. Baker stood at the engineering station, his 4 eyes wide as he read through the ship's specifications appearing on his screen. "Captain, you won't believe this," he said, voice filled with awe. "This ship, it's from the First Contact War. The humans fought this war 300 years ago, when they first met hostile aliens." Reed gripped the arms of the captain's chair as another swarm blast tested their shields. "Tell me more. We need to know what this ship can do." The AI's calm voice joined their conversation. "HMS Thunder, Victoria-class warship. Primary mission, deep space patrol and emergency response. Current shield strength at 60% and rising." Morgan worked quickly at her console, learning the ship's systems. "The weapons are incredible, Captain. These aren't primitive at all. The railguns use some kind of advanced magnetic technology. And there's something called plasma lance systems." "Correct," the AI confirmed. "This vessel carries Mark IV railgun batteries and twin heavy plasma lance arrays. All weapon systems are operational. However, I detect your crew lacks training in human weapon controls." Reed leaned forward. "Can you help us operate them?" "Affirmative. Automatic targeting systems available." This vessel was designed to be operated by minimal crew if necessary. The main screen suddenly lit up with tactical displays, showing the 3 swarm ships circling them. Their biomechanical forms looked like giant insects made of metal and flesh. Baker's console beeped with new information. "Captain, I'm seeing why the humans left this ship here. It's not just a warship, it's a guardian. There are dozens of these vessels hidden across the galaxy, waiting to protect anyone who needs help." The First Contact War taught humanity the importance of helping allies, the AI explained. "This vessel's primary directive is to protect developing civilizations and trade routes from hostile forces. A direct hit from a swarm ship made the Thunder shudder slightly." The AI responded instantly, shields holding at 75%. "Hostile vessels are utilizing energy weapons consistent with classification. Swarm colony ships. Why did they hide its true nature?" Morgan asked, still amazed by the readings on her screen. "Why make it look old and broken?" Reed understood suddenly. Because no one would suspect it. Everyone would ignore it, thinking it was just space junk. The perfect hidden guardian. "Correct, Captain Reed," the AI said. "The external appearance was deliberately designed to conceal this vessel's capabilities. Deception is a core element of human military doctrine." Baker laughed from his station. "And we almost tried to scrap it. We were going to cut up one of the most advanced warships ever built." The tactical display flashed red. "Warning," the AI announced. "Swarm vessels are moving into attack formation. Recommend immediate defensive action." Reed straightened in his chair. "What are our options?" The main screen changed, showing a detailed battle plan. "Standard combat protocol suggests using point defense systems to weaken their bioarmor, followed by railgun strikes to critical areas. Plasma lances reserved for final defensive measures." Morgan looked up from her console. "Captain, I've got basic weapons control now. The AI can help me target them." "Hostile vessels charging primary weapons," the AI reported. "Shield impact in 10 seconds." Reed took a deep breath. They were salvage workers, not soldiers. But now they had to fight. And they had humanity's legacy to help them do it. "All right," he ordered, his voice firm. "Prepare point defense systems. Show us how humanity fought their wars." The Thunder's engines roared to full power, the ship moving with surprising grace for its size. Around them, weapon ports opened, revealing gleaming turrets that had been hidden beneath the false outer hull. "Combat systems fully engaged," the AI announced. "Executing combat maneuvers. Time to weapons range, 30 seconds." As they turned to face the swarm ships, Reed couldn't help but smile. Hours ago, they had laughed at this primitive vessel. Now they were about to witness firsthand why humanity had become a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. The real battle was about to begin. The first swarm ship fired a barrage of bioplasma, lighting up space with sickly green energy. Instead of trying to dodge, the Thunder held its position. "Impact in 3 seconds," the AI announced calmly. Reed gripped his chair. Are you sure we shouldn't evade? Negative. Demonstrating point defense capabilities now. Suddenly, dozens of small turrets across the Thunder's hull came to life. They fired in perfect sequence, creating a web of intercepting fire. The swarm's bioplasma shots exploded harmlessly, far from the ship's hull. That's impossible, Baker whispered from his engineering station. Nothing can intercept bioplasma like that. Human point defense systems utilize predictive targeting algorithms, the AI explained, calculating attack vectors before weapons are fired. Morgan worked at her weapons console, now showing detailed targeting information. Captain, the AI is highlighting weak points in the swarm ships. Their bio-armor has gaps near their engine clusters. Railguns charged and ready, the AI reported. Recommended target locked. Reed nodded. Fire when ready. The Thunder's main railguns roared to life. But these weren't the primitive weapons the aliens had first assumed them to be. Instead of simple metal slugs, they fired streams of electromagnetically accelerated particles wrapped in gravitational fields. The shots crossed space in an instant, striking the first swarm ship exactly where the AI had indicated. The biomechanical vessel's armor crumpled inward, and secondary explosions rippled along its hull. Direct hit, Morgan announced. Their shields are completely bypassed. The remaining two swarm ships changed formation, moving to attack from different angles. Their hulls pulse with angry red light as they charged their main weapons. Multiple incoming fire patterns detected, the AI warned. Engaging evasive maneuvers. The Thunder moved with shocking agility for its size, rolling to present its strongest shields toward the attacks. Point defense systems continued firing, creating an intricate pattern of defensive fire that made the ship look like it was wrapped in a web of light. Second target locked, Morgan called out. Firing solutions ready. Execute, Reed ordered, starting to feel more confident in his temporary role as a warship captain. Another series of railgun shots streaked across space. The second swarm ship tried to evade, but the AI had predicted its movement. The shots caught it mid-turn, tearing through its bio-armor and rupturing its main power core. 2 hostiles disabled, the AI reported. Warning. Final vessel showing signs of biological adaptation. Standard weapons may be less effective. The last swarm ship was changing before their eyes. Its bio-armor was thickening, growing new layers specifically designed to resist railgun fire. They're learning, Baker said, checking his readings. That's how the swarm survives. They adapt to whatever kills them. Correct, the AI confirmed. Switching to plasma lance weapons, this technology was specifically designed to counter adaptive bio-armor. The Thunder's hull shifted again, revealing 2 massive weapon arrays that had been completely hidden before. They began to glow with bright blue energy. Plasma lances charge, the AI announced. Caution. Recommend all crews secure themselves. Firing this weapon system will temporarily strain our inertial dampeners. Reed quickly sent the order through the ship's communication system. Everyone braced for impact. The plasma lances fired. Twin beams of blue-white energy lanced out across space, so bright they had to dim the view screens. The swarm ship's new armor began to boil away on contact. No matter how quickly it tried to adapt, the plasma simply burned through each new layer. Target neutralized, the AI reported as the final swarm ship broke apart in a massive explosion. The bridge crew sat in stunned silence for a moment, trying to process what they had just witnessed. Their primitive refuge had just destroyed 3 swarm ships in less than 5 minutes. Status report, Reed finally managed to say. All systems functioning within normal parameters, the AI responded. Shields at 82%. Weapons charged and ready. No damage to primary systems. Baker laughed from his station, the sound slightly hysterical with relief. No wonder humans became so powerful. They weren't just hiding their technology. They were hiding entire battleships across the galaxy. Additional swarm signals detected at extreme range. the AI announced. Estimated arrival time: 20 minutes. Shall we prepare for another engagement, Captain? Reed straightened in his chair, exchanging determined looks with his crew. They weren't done yet, but now they knew exactly what their ship could do. Yes, he said firmly. Let's show them what else this Relic can do. Long-range sensors showed 5 more swarm ships approaching, larger than the first 3. Their biomechanical forms twisted and changed as they moved, already adapting based on data from their destroyed companions. Analysis of incoming vessels, Reed asked, watching the tactical display. Swarm warrior-class ships detected, the AI responded. These units show signs of advanced adaptation capabilities. Standard weapons may have reduced effectiveness. Morgan studied her readings with concern. They're spreading out into an attack formation, much more organized than the last group. Of course they are, Baker said from engineering. The swarm learns from every battle. They're like a giant space-going hive mind. The AI's voice took on a slightly different tone, almost pleased. Excellent observation. Activating secondary combat systems. Initiating electronic warfare protocols. New displays lit up across the bridge, showing complex patterns of energy emissions. The Thunder's hull began to pulse with subtle waves of electromagnetic energy. What's happening? Reed asked, watching in fascination. Human warships are equipped with advanced electronic warfare systems, the AI explained. The swarm operates on a linked neural network. This makes them vulnerable to certain types of interference. The approaching swarm ships suddenly began to move erratically. Their tight formation broke apart as they struggled against an invisible force. It's disrupting their hive mind, Morgan explained. They can't coordinate their attacks. Correct, the AI confirmed. Electronic warfare was humanity's primary advantage in the First Contact War. Biological computing systems are particularly vulnerable to our methods of digital attack. Baker's engineering console lit up with new information. Captain, you need to see this. The ship is reconfiguring its weapons. The railguns are changing their firing patterns, and the plasma lances are modulating their frequency. This vessel is designed to adapt alongside our opponents, the AI explained. As they evolve new defenses, we evolve new methods of attack. The first of the warrior-class ships came into range, its weapons charging, but its shots went wide, its targeting systems confused by the Thunder's electronic warfare. Target locked, Morgan announced. These new firing solutions look different. Fire at will, Reed ordered. The Thunder's railguns fired again, but this time the gravitational fields around the shots pulsed and shifted. When they struck the swarm ship, they created cascade failures across its bio-armor, causing entire sections to collapse. 2 more swarm ships pressed their attack, trying to overwhelm the Thunder's defenses through sheer force. Their weapon fire splashed against the shields, which now rippled with strange patterns of energy. Shield modification complete, the AI announced, redirecting absorbed energy to weapon systems. The plasma lances fired again, but this time the beams split into multiple streams, each one targeting a different weak point in the swarm ship's armor. The results were devastating. One swarm ship simply came apart, its artificial nervous system overloaded. Another spun out of control, its engines failing as the plasma burned through critical systems. The last 2 are retreating, Morgan reported, excitement in her voice. Not retreating. Regrouping, the AI corrected. Standard swarm tactics indicate they will attempt one final coordinated attack. As if on cue, the remaining ships turned and accelerated toward the Thunder, all their weapons charging at once. They had altered their bio-armor again, creating overlapping layers of protection. They think they figured out our weapons, Baker said, watching his displays. But they haven't seen everything yet, have they? Correct, the AI responded. Initiating final defense protocol. Activating quantum displacement field. The Thunder's entire hull began to shimmer with a strange, shifting light. When the swarm ships fired, Their shots passed right through where the thunder appeared to be. How? Reed began, but his question was answered as the thunder reappeared behind the swarm ships. Quantum displacement technology, the AI explained. Another gift from the First Contact War. Firing all weapons. The combined blast of railguns and plasma lances caught the final swarm ships completely by surprise. They had no time to adapt or evade. The battle ended in a brief, brilliant flash of light. As the debris of the last swarm ships drifted past them, Reed finally allowed himself to relax in his chair. They had done it. A salvage crew in an ancient warship had just defeated 8 swarm vessels. "Well," he said to his crew, "I think it's safe to say we won't be scrapping this ship after all." 3 days later, the Thunder glided into the main docking bay of Central Station, looking very different from the derelict ship it had appeared to be a week ago. Its hull now gleamed with a subtle blue sheen, all signs of age and damage gone. A crowd of aliens gathered at the viewing windows, staring in awe at the revealed human warship. Reed stood on the bridge, preparing for their arrival. The past few days had been busy. After defeating the swarm ships, they had escorted 2 convoys of refugee vessels to safety, saved a mining colony from raiders, and transmitted warnings that had helped the defense fleet finally contain the swarm invasion. Message from Station Command, Morgan announced from her console. "Admiral West wants to speak with us immediately." "Put him through," Reed said, straightening his uniform. The Admiral's image appeared on the main screen, his expression a mix of amazement and respect. "Captain Reed," he began, "I've read your report 3 times, and I still can hardly believe it. A hidden human warship, disguised as space debris, with technology centuries ahead of what we thought they had." "It's all true, Admiral," Reed replied. "And according to the ship's AI, there are more of them out there. The humans left these guardians across the galaxy, protecting trade routes and developing civilizations." "Remarkable," the Admiral said, shaking his head. "All this time, we thought we were just being nice to the humans, letting them join our galactic community. But they were watching over us from the beginning." Baker spoke up from his engineering station. "Admiral, you should see the technical data we've collected. The humans weren't primitive at all. They just let everyone think they were. Every piece of outdated technology on their ships was carefully designed to hide their true capabilities." The Admiral nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, we're getting reports now from all over the galaxy. Your battle with the swarm inspired other ships to investigate supposed human relics in their sectors. They're finding similar vessels, each one programmed to protect and defend. The humans understood something we didn't," Morgan added. "The best guardians are the ones you don't notice until you need them." The main screen suddenly split, showing a new transmission. Reed's heart nearly stopped when he recognized the sender. It was from the Human Diplomatic Corps. A human ambassador appeared on screen, smiling warmly. "Captain Reed," she said, "on behalf of humanity, I want to thank you and your crew. You've not only proven yourselves worthy of our trust, but also helped reveal a truth we've kept hidden for centuries." "You mean there's more?" Admiral West asked. The ambassador nodded. "The Guardian ships were just the beginning. Humanity has been quietly watching over the galaxy since our first ventures into space. We knew that not every species would welcome obvious protection, so we hid our true capabilities behind a facade of primitive technology." Reed thought about the Thunder's incredible systems, the quantum displacement drive, the adaptive weapons, the electronic warfare capabilities. "How much have you really been hiding?" The ambassador's smile widened. "Let's just say that what you've seen is only a small fraction of what humanity can do. But we believe in letting civilizations develop on their own terms. We step in only when absolutely necessary." "Like with the swarm," Baker said, understanding dawning on his face. "Exactly," the ambassador confirmed. "And now that this particular secret is out, we'd like to offer something new. Captain Reed, how would you and your crew like to become the Thunder's official crew?" There's a whole network of guardian ships out there that could use commanders who understand their true purpose. Reed looked at his crew, seeing the excitement in their faces. They'd started this adventure as simple salvage workers, laughing at what they thought was primitive technology. Now they were being offered the chance to become part of humanity's hidden protection network. "We would be honored," Reed replied, feeling a swell of pride. As the meeting concluded and the screens went dark, Reed walked to the Thunder's main viewport. He placed his hand on the smooth surface, feeling the subtle hum of the ship's powerful systems beneath. "You know," he said to his crew, "I don't think I'll ever laugh at a primitive human ship again." The Thunder's AI spoke up, its tone almost amused. "A wise decision, Captain. After all, you never know what other surprises humanity might have hidden among the stars."